order to separate the two parties. And those guys are supposed to teach peacekeeping and dialogue at the universities. How to focus on individual responsibility of the child in patriarchal societies, in collectivistic societies. This is a social issue when no one is, by definition, responsible. It's the group that is responsible. The fifth obstacle, very quickly, is term of capacities. Who's going to pay? Who's going to pay for all those changes? And in this situation, I would like to go further and to say how to build peace. And this is the problem we have faced in Lebanon, and we're facing it in the Middle East. And the absence of 8 pillars of positive peace. We have no well-functioning government. We have weak business environment, bad relations with neighbors, high levels of corruption, not equitable distribution of resources. But we still want to proceed and to give the child and the family the support to build peace. We have, in my case in Lebanon, we have only 2 pillars functioning: high level of human capital and free flow of information. The contextual obstacles are the refugees issues. We spoke about it yesterday. We can leave it up to the Q&A if you want, because we have many examples that could be instrumental to global thinking on the issue. Second is the poverty and literacy ratio correlated to crime and insecurity. We have no precise idea. We have no statistical data. We have a lot of figures, but nothing could be substantiated about this. I'm speaking about the correlation between those themes. 3, the mismatching between the means and the deeds. To whom goes the budget and the funds? To the failing government, to the corrupted ministries, to NGOs who are sometimes more corrupted than government. 4, how to win the war against extremism. And this is a real problem. The extremist becomes the other, and the extremism feeds extremism. It's not only in Syria, it's not in Lebanon, in Iraq, here and there. It's becoming a global issue. The issue of extremism, the early childhood education is becoming a European and American, a very modern issue that has to be addressed not only in the Middle East. How culture is shaped. And this is a thing that if you want to teach peace, who's going to write your history? Who's going to produce your collective memory? What do you want the child to remember? Especially when we are in a mixed situation, peace and war. Now, the means to overcome all of that. The means in terms of policy. Of course, who's going to do? I'm in favor of interministerial approach. In my capacity of Minister of Social Affairs, I was together heading the High Council for Childhood, the High Council for Elderly, the High Council for Special Needs, and this is by definition an interministerial approach. But I would like to advocate here really another change of paradigm, and it comes from my research and practice on dialogue. Dialogue is more than just communication, as the United Nations sometimes, for some time, has advocated. It is a little bit more than conflict resolution as well, because in conflict resolution, we have the idea of reciprocity. We need to have a holistic approach to dialogue. It goes with the idea of peace building. It goes beyond. It is dialogue of life. It's dialogue of life. It's a way of life. We're trying to do it. We are going to publish the intercultural media, the intercultural dialogue media guidelines in May for UNESCO, and I have presented in this, I'm the author of these guidelines, and we are presented the paradigm, the 3 stories paradigm. Dialogue as communication, dialogue as conflict resolution, but dialogue as way of life. It means that we have to engage in a holistic approach the childhood, the mother, the family, the community in this way of dialogue. And of course, there are a lot of implications of this. The secret, and I would like to quote here something it has always driven my action, saying is, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a child. Okay, we are not reinventing the world. This comes from decades, you know, and nowadays we have to rehabilitate, to reaccredit the village, the community, you know, and it means developing, of course, other types of intelligence you all know. The secret of resiliency of Lebanon, and I'm very happy to have heard the presentation of resiliency a few minutes ago, is two things. It's freedom and empathy, or love. There is no other secret. Freedom, you can do or can try to do, regardless of the sectarianism that exists, but freedom is largely protected. Freedom of education, freedom of thinking, freedom to give your children the type of education you want, and empathy. It means the culture of love. And we have a very vibrant education sector, which is the private sector. A second recommendation it could be, and this is something we have done, is that we always think in terms of national strategy. National strategy for this, national strategy for that, action plan here, action plan there, but we are lacking the head for all of that, or if I can say the underlying basis for all of that. And this is why we have done, in Lebanon it was followed by in different countries in the Arab world, just at the outburst of the Arab Spring, and then it has stopped. It is the notion of social pact. In the social pact, we spoke about subsidiarity, solidarity, partnership, and sharing, access to common good, enjoying the enjoying of natural resources. What does it mean, subsidiarity? Subsidiarity is protecting the family. The family that has to protect the individual, and the state intervenes only in order to protect the child if there is any abuse in terms of violence or whatever. These are basics. The principle of subsidiarity, solidarity, means the national strategy of volunteering. We have put volunteering is get the youth involved in teaching the youngsters, the corporate social responsibility, to promote social inclusion, to overcome the problem of resources who's going to pay the NGOs, are very important in informal education. That would strengthen the community cohesion. It is done with some loopholes, but it is there. The principle of partnership and sharing, NGOs, private sector, donors, state, it is again the manifestation or the concretization of the culture of empathy, together with the parental education or intergenerational commitment, peer-to-peer education. I think this, what we have succeeded in putting in the social development centers. We have created more than 250 social development centers in Lebanon. These are places where families could get together, where children could be monitored, where the mother and the could go and to place a claim if she is facing any type of violence. 200 social development centers remind us of the program Bolsa Familia, for example, in Brazil. I was very much influenced by this, by these centers that were intergenerational at the same time, and these were centers where poverty targeting programs were as well trying to be really addressing the needs of the grassroots. 70,000 families in Lebanon, out of a population of 5 million, are already profiting from the services given by those social development centers. And a point, very important point, is the role of family as buffer, as a place to heal the soldier, is to heal the child soldier, to heal the people who are going to the front line. Now we have more than 15,000 families from Lebanon whose children are fighting in Syria. When they come back, they are not left like this. The families are there. The mother is there. the society is taking care of them. Before, during the war, as well, the distance between the front line and the school was sometimes few dozen of meters. And in the middle was the filter, the family, and the role of the mother as a healer for the child. It was the best, she was the best therapist for the child in order to help him or her in her mental health. 2 minutes and I will be done. The role of media, social responsibility. We are not speaking enough about media. The children are exposed to the media, to violence in the media. And actually, I'm calling from this tribune or from any other tribune that I would be invited to have kind of a levelization of child-friendly media. We are not, I think, doing enough in this. Actually, the skills for the child. We're talking about the child participating in conflict resolution and discussion. But when I say that the child has to be more involved in villages, it means to go and live the social life. Here in the Middle East, there is still a society, a community, where we go to weddings, where we mourn together our dead, where the social occupation is taking a good part of the occupation of the families. Get the child to those events is very important because this will make them aware of the community more and more. It is, I think, a way to contribute to the better socialization. At the end, I think that Maysoon Shihab from Beirut has invited me to come to this, and I told her why me, and she told me just speak about what you have done. I'm a scholar, but I've never written on the issue, but I can say that my little experience in this could be discussed. I'm not pretending at all to be a lesson giver here. I'm here to take lessons. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Your Excellency. Now to Dr. Chammay. You are in mental health. Can you tell us a little bit the link between mental health and sustaining peace?
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to comply. I'm going to stay seated. Your Royal Highness, Your Excellency, I would like to start by thanking the organizers, Kimber, Katie, Carrie, and Charlie for all the support you've been giving me throughout. I know I haven't been very easy, so thank you so much, and really perfect organization. When Kimber first asked me to come and talk, I thought, I'm not a peace builder expert, why should I be here? But the exercise in itself helped me actually to reflect on the links between mental health and peace building, and I came up with a few ideas that I would like to share with you. The first question that came to my mind was, is peace something to pursue, or does it ensue from something else? And as a clinician, I started thinking of people who come to see me with their own internal struggles, wanting inner peace, right? We all want that. So I think it all starts there somehow, and most of the conflicts that we see in the world are conflicts with ourselves, with parts of ourselves that we don't like, that we see in others, or that sometimes project on others. And if we just take a moment to see how difficult it is to get to inner peace, we could see how difficult it is for us as humanity to really achieve peace on a global level. But this is not to discourage us, but to tell us that we really need to work seriously towards that. Another idea that came to my mind is that what do they have in common, peace and mental health? And from more of a policy perspective, the first word that came to my mind was social justice. I mean, both need social justice. We cannot talk about good mental health or good peace building if social justice is not a cornerstone for that. And the links between mental health and peace, I think, are mutually reinforcing and not necessarily very linear. It's not like A leads to B and B leads to A. For the definition of mental health to start with, the WHO define mental health as not the pure absence of a disorder, but rather a state of well-being in which a person is able to cope with normal stress, to be productive and to contribute to his or her community. So this capacity to contribute can be easily linked to peace, as peace is rather a dynamic state than just something stable and something that needs maintenance. So mental health, back as a clinician for me, is a very complex result of interaction between biological, psychological, social and cultural factors that come to place and that would lead to a person saying, yes, I'm feeling good, I have a good mental health. Unfortunately, conflicts and wars are major determinants of mental ill health. Put any one of us in a situation where we're fleeing for our lives and the lives of our families, we lost everything, we were not knowing what tomorrow will bring, and let's see how we would be feeling. I mean, who can talk about good mental health in these circumstances? So wars and conflicts usually bring a lot of sorrow and grief, and these are normal reactions to completely abnormal situations. And most of the time they don't need specialist intervention. Sometimes psychiatrists and psychologists, we think of ourselves, or we like to think of ourselves as indispensable. We're not. I mean, this is not what people mostly need in these specific moments. What they need is safety, is reinforcing the links with the community, is their basic needs met, and all of that. But some of them will be extremely distressed, will be depressed, will develop post-traumatic stress disorders and even psychotic episodes. And these persons would need care, and this care needs to be there. The challenge is that usually in emergencies, mental health is not looked upon as a priority. It's always left out. We look at shelter, protection, education, and for the right reasons. I'm not saying we shouldn't be looking at that, and even at physical health, but when it comes to mental health, it always comes second. However, in an emergency, and this is something I know very well because I personally also was internally displaced as a child in Lebanon, so it's something that I'm very familiar with. So in emergencies, actually, you need to be very clear into making decisions. And so when do I leave? Which road do I take? Where do I stay over for the night? Where can I seek help? How do I can provide for my children? And to be able to do all of that, you need to be in a good mental health. So catering for the mental health of people who are in conflict zones or in displacement is as crucial as anything else, and actually it can be a matter of life or death for them and their families. A second way of looking at the relationship would be to consider some mental health interventions, such as life skill education that we give in schools, as also an intervention for peace building, because it trains youth into conflict resolution, better communication, conflict resolution, and all of that are essential tools for peace building. So investing in mental health, and more specifically in maternal and child mental health, will not only improve their own mental health and their health in general, but is definitely will be contributing to better and peaceful societies. A different angle into looking into this relationship is to consider peace, but the peace built on the recognition of injustice and oppression, and on the reparation for individuals and society as a condition for good mental health as well. So it goes in that direction. Symbolic acts of recognition and reparation can be extremely effective for survivors of tortures, family of disappeared, and in most cases is more effective than only providing medication or therapy alone. I would also like to address here one common misconception concerning persons with severe mental disorders. They are wrongly accused of being actors of more violence. If we go over the evidence, we will notice that persons with severe mental disorders are more often victims of violence than perpetrators of violence. Describing persons with criminal behaviors as mentally ill is not only degrading for persons with mental disorders, but can be further away from the truth as well. Sometimes the media is not helping, using the mental disorder tag too quickly when describing acts of violence or horror is doing a lot of harm to a lot of people and not helping in understanding and dealing with the real causes behind these violent acts. To conclude this question, I would like also to add that there is another ingredient that is at the same time a condition for and a result of both peace building and having a good mental health. And that is hope. Hope. And I think hope is one of the most powerful manifestations of life and one of the most effective engines of change in general. And I think hope is what got us here today, like the hope of building more peaceful societies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chammay. Now to Frederic. What prompts the United Nations to suddenly consider that social services providers can also contribute to peace building? As we know, it took time, and they're shy to do that. I mean, it's not part of peace building. What caused this change?